Oh my goodness. Bitcoin is crashing. I expected a small little downward momentum. And if I get right on into it here, first I'll show you my trade and what's going on. So last week I made a little over 5 grand. And right now I was betting we were going to go up, and now we're down $3,500. Eek, 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 eek. Ouch. Right. But this is a $140,000 trade, and I've got reason to believe that we are going up. So if I'm looking here, we are bouncing off of this area of support, and this is good. This is good because we're finding what used to be resistance, now a support. And the next target is relatively right around the $2,900 to $3,200 mark on Bitcoin. Bitcoin is looking saucy right now because on the daily, okay, we've had this nice upward trajectory from the low of the 49,000. And yes, lots of shorts are around this, gosh, $69,000 to $74,000 mark. And here, if I just redraw some of this stuff, okay, here we have this nice ascending triangle that ended up breaking out here. This one looks better here. Boom, boom, boom. Okay, broke out, and now we are creating support. So if I've taught you guys anything about certain patterns, is usually we like to see a couple times of hitting, right? You could say this is 1, 2, 3, and Bitcoin usually likes to do stuff in 4. Here's 4. And usually we return to the scene of the crime and then go off. So this is good. As long as we close above relatively the $66,000 to $65,000 range, Bitcoin should be in the position to go upwards to new highs. Because what's going on in the world? Well, you have the EBC banks, the central banks, cutting interest rates by 25 basis points. We here in America have cut our interest rates by 50 basis points. And here in just a week, not a week, but the beginning of November, we're going to cut rates yet again about 0.25 to another half of a percentage point, which what does that do? That makes it to where banks can now borrow more money to pay off debt. People, middle class guys, can borrow more money to pay off debt. And if you're in a position, your assets have gone up on your properties, that sort of thing, you take money out from there and you invest it into different assets. Gold, sometimes mutual funds, other times Bitcoin. And that is good. Interest rates have been high for a long time. So we're stimulate the economy with money, which is going to raise everything here. And then also, okay, if I look at Bitcoin's return history in the month of October, historically, we are having an average of about 21%. It's interesting that the mean is right around 21% too. And so far, we are at 6%, which means that theoretically, we've got another, 15% to go, right? 15 or more to be on average. And what would that do for the price of Bitcoin? That would just get us off the roof here. Okay, so now here. Let me do 2 things before I talk about what this is doing. So another 15% usually is right around where I've got those targets. Okay, that's around $80,000. And that would be prime for the election. Here, this is on the weekly, and we have a MACD crossover, which is for exponential growth as well. And also, okay, we've got this falling wedge pattern on this flag that has been going around here for God knows how long. How many weeks is this? This is freaking, again, 250 days. And finally, we broke out and we're returning to the scene of the crime. That is typical. Okay, you'll fall into a range and then you'll break out, and then usually you come back to the scene of the crime before you go off. Yes, that's a little bit over exaggerated, but that is the point that we're getting here. And what else was I showing? Well, here, let me refresh this to see what this is going on here. Trump is up 63 to 35. Oh my goodness. I am in love. Did you see that he went on McDonald's? What kind of a president actually goes to McDonald's and works? And CNN did something horrible where they talked bad about it was a publicity stunt, and it basically said bad about people that have middle wage jobs, which is a good portion of your voters. So that was ridiculous to have the left say that. And Brennan, hey, what's up, man? Glad to see you back here on the stream. So I'm not panicking as of yet, because why am I not panicking? Well, I am not panicking, okay, because we've got more. What is the influx on the ETFs here? The ETFs, route 273 million dollars. So while everyone else is panicking, what are the rich people doing? Well, they are buying freaking Bitcoin out the ass is what they are doing. And if I had quite a bit more money, that's exactly what I would be doing as well. So again, we are returning to the scene of the crime. This is good that now this level is turning into support. If it breaks, okay, if this level breaks, that is going to be the considering factor. Because look at this candles. You guys know I'm a big candle boy. And if this guy ends up breaking downwards, we will see a engulfing candle. And potentially we might see like 3 black crows where this guy goes all the way back down, and it would catch probably around this volume-ish, okay? The 60 to 62. Here, let me put another one on here. Briefly look at where I see this guy would be traveling to. And here, let me grab a different tool so that it's more of a range. It would be this area. And that is the 62 to $60,000 range. That's where I would suspect Bitcoin to then bounce off of, and we would test again the 70-ish thousand dollars or so. But I think that's going to happen sooner rather than later, because what is going on here in 15 days? 15 days. In about 10 days, we're going to get another rate cut. About 15 days, we're going to elect this SOB as president. And yeah, for people that think that Kamala is for small businesses and the middle class, they are not. They are basically for big government to make it capable for big monopolies and corporations to take over. And so small businesses won't be able to survive, along with like having a housing maximum. That ideology is just silly, because then people like myself and you, it's too expensive to go buy property because you can't make money off it. You can't rent your house to somebody because the government says you can only rent out it for this much. Well, who can do that? Big hedge funds like BlackRock that can come in and spend 60 million to billions of dollars to buy the whole development, and then say, all right, cool, we only get to charge $1,000 for rent, but because we bought so many of them and we basically somewhat paid them off because we can refinance our debt at like 1% because we're big with the banks, then they can make stuff. But for us, have to go get a mortgage for 6% doesn't make sense, right? So it's a matter of education. Really is the dampener between people that say that Trump is bad for business and bad for the economy and bad for small businesses. It's furthest from the truth. So that's why I love platforms like this, where we can start talking and getting some more information out here. And yeah, just to end this off, am I worried about my trade? Did I make a bad decision? Well, last week I made $5,000, which was a good, decent week, right? And now I'm about to lose all of it, but it's on paper, and I'm expecting this guy to somewhat bounce. It might fall down a little bit more to the $2,600. And that is probably about all the pain that I may be willing to appreciate here. But my real target is right around that 29, and that 29 is going to be roughly around $8,000. And I might see a little lax above 2,800. So that might be where I first take a little bit of profit. But what I need to be better about is I'm so hyped on what is going on in the economy right now that I'm a little bit ready, aim, fire. So that's my mistake. I saw this happening. My wife was getting a tattoo. I closed a trade for about $2,000 to pay for the tattoo. I had money in the checking account, but it felt good to say that I could, here in 30 minutes made $2,000, right? But it was really like a day of work. So, but still, a day of work is not bad for that. My point being, because I'm digressing, is I felt like I had to be in a trade because I had a fear of missing out, which isn't the best, right? Especially when it comes to trading. I know better. I know I'm a risky mofo, but I should have waited for a little bit of a rebound, because if I look back at the charts, it was pretty obvious that you could tell that people were probably going to start shorting at this level. Same thing with Bitcoin, that we are going to here. This is a better way of looking at it on this guy is people were going to start shorting Bitcoin when we got to this level. And that's exactly what they did, because that's what history doesn't usually repeat itself, but it rhymes. So for that, I should have seen what was happening, but we might see a little bit more pain to about 65 and maybe 2,600 for Ethereum. But we should be bouncing upwards. So I'm not super scared yet. I won't be scared of us going to the low 62s, and for Ethereum going down to that 2,400 to 2,100 range, unless we start breaking these key levels. So we'll see what happens here in the next couple days, because what's going on is in the stock market, we've got big earnings to play. Tesla being the number one. Elon Musk has been very forward about his political views, and also yeah, so it'll be interesting to see where that goes. Hey, the daily candle is about to close, and it's going to close live here. So why don't we just watch the sucker close live together? All four that are in here. Okay, we're looking at this guy. We got a minute left to go. Let me zoom in, and we're just trying to make sure that this guy stays above here. And really what this is doing is this is showing that Bitcoin, as long as we stay above this level, boom, there it opened. Okay, closing that is a confirmation that we are rebounding off of this level. This level is being high support. Okay, high support. And you can see this itty bitty green guy as just opened. And now we may see some upward trajectory, or we might fall into a range trading. Okay. And where would this new range be? Well, this new range would be the 74,000 to the $68,000 range, right? Where we might see some more accumulation happen for the big wigs. And then come the election, maybe a couple days, we'll price it in that Trump is going to be president. And my target that I told you guys around that $80,000 mark would probably be hit before Trump gets elected. And then we might see a little pullback there, and then the bump up to that 100,000. So this is Johnny Crypto. Hit that subscribe button. Appreciate you guys. I will give you more updates relatively daily, every other day, based on my schedule. So appreciate you all. Till next time, here to help you guys learn something and make some money.